Hello, my name is Jeffrey, and today I'm going to do a commentary on Robert Frost's poem For Once in Something. Robert Frost is trying to convey the life lesson that the harder you try to achieve something, the more oblivious it will be to you through the poetic devices of literary metaphor, imagery, diction, and punctuation. But before I actually get into that, let me give you a brief summary of this poem first. This poem is about a very idealistic person who seeks to learn more about himself in the summertime by a well. This protagonist recounts on experience while he was looking down the well. The protagonist notices a speck of whiteness and starts to ponder upon what it could be and what it is. But before he could look more carefully, a drop of water from above drops and ripples and clears the image. Hence, this whiteness is lost, in which he is lost wondering what this whiteness could be. Before I actually start analyzing the poem, I feel like I should mention a bit on the metaphor Frost uses to make my argument even more clear. In this poem, Robert Frost uses the metaphor of the white speck as a life lesson, while he uses the water to show obliviousness. In a more depth kind of view, when people are desperately trying to perceive something, as represented by the protagonist's need to figure out what the white speck was, the more the lesson won't come to him, as exemplified by the disappearance of the white image. Okay, time to start analyzing. Frost uses a lot of vivid imagery to further buttress his argument. He uses imagery such as a something white, uncertain, water came to rebuke the too clear water, one drop fell from a fern, and lo, a ripple. Shook whatever it was lay there at the bottom, blurred it, blotted it out. A pebble of quartz. By using these vivid imageries, Frost was able to paint a clear picture of what the narrator was going through the protagonist was going through in terms of sight. But because a simple drop of water fell from a tree to ripple the image, the narrator was clearly able to display the protagonist was clearly able the narrator was clearly able to display the obliviousness of the white object in the reader's mind, thus supporting his argument that in life, the harder you seek to perceive something, the harder it will be to actually grasp it. Another literary technique Frost uses is diction. Through the words like rebuke, to, ripple, shook, blurred, blotted, he furthermore expanded and supported this argument. The use of rebuke shows the dissemination of the white object among the water. The to, used to describe the water, shows the drastic contrast between the two, the water and the white object. This tells the reader that the protagonist could have easily grasped the white object, for it was extremely clear and visible in the water, until his chances were ruined by a single insignificant water drop. This drags on to my next word, shook. Shook is a very strong word, and when it is placed in this context, it shook whatever and rippled the image, which furthermore emphasizes how unrelenting the external forces are, making it even more oblivious to you. Blurred and blotted play the same use in this poem. These two words work together in further emphasizing the obliviousness of the white object and how after it was shaken, it was blurred and blotted out. The extra emphasis shows to the reader the magnitude of the disappearance of the white object and how it was extremely uneasy to grasp. On a more deep level, Frost uses diction to emphasize the obliviousness of many life lessons that one is trying to consciously understand. Lastly, the last technique Robert Frost uses to support this argument is the use of punctuation. The use of commas show the suddenness of a change in events. Towards the end, one drop fell from a fern, and lo, a ripple. The sequence of events, one drop fell from a fern, and a ripple, noted above, happened very quickly. And the use of commas here is to separate the two events into two distinct parts, showing the quick change. Furthermore, the use of periods show a strong sense of change. Whenever there is a period, something new is happening. The periods separate the different scenes of the poem. The first part is when the protagonist was talking about himself and how he's a very idealistic person and enjoys staring into the summer sky. The second part is when he's reflecting back on the experience where he was about to trying to grasp what the white image in the wall was when suddenly a fern a drop of water from a fern ruined his image. Lastly, the third part is when um lastly it was to show the period of when he was trying to discover what exactly it was, but was not quite able to. By using these periods, Frost was able to clearly show a sign of change. Lastly, the final punctuation mark Frost used was question marks. The emphasis and abundance of question marks towards the end show how curious the protagonist was on what the image was, and that no matter how hard he tried, he was not able to figure out, as exemplified by the final period in the end, which marks the transition into another period. In this span of two sentences, two lines, Robert Frost uses quotation marks twice, once here, three times, once there, once here, and once here. This shows how curious and how bad the protagonist wanted to know what the white object was, but despite his curiosity, he was still not able to do so. In conclusion, Frost uses the literary devices, literary metaphor, imagery, diction, and punctuation to emphasize the lesson that the harder you look for something, the more oblivious it will be to you. One last thing that is noteworthy to mention before I end is the title. I believe that the title, For Once, Then, Something, is very fitting in context of the poem, as it clearly shows the rapid suite of events of how the white object was for once could have been significant, but ended up just being another insignificant something that the protagonist was not able to fully learn and grasp. Thank you for watching.